who right now are locked in a titanic battle with the West Coast Eagles. 7 points is the Saints' lead, as looks like Josh Hill just lining up here for the Eagles with about 10 minutes to play.
You just get the feeling the Eagles are going to slowly but surely reel them in, but gee, it's a really important game. If the Saints can hang on and get across the line, it would be an enormous boost to their 2017 campaign. Just having a look at Brendan Goddard on our monitor, and he is sporting a really substantial shiner. He's copped a beauty there somewhere in his right eye.
He had the 21 disposals tonight. Goddard kicked the 1 goal, went at 82% efficiency, so pretty solid night from Brendan Goddard. And the Lions will look at this one as just a little missed opportunity, but it's a long-term view with a new coach coming in. And there's certainly been a hell of a lot more competitive in the first 2 weeks, and that really has been the theme at Brisbane. Bring effort, bring competitiveness. We're not going to win every game, but if that's the basis, then Brisbane fans in Melbourne and up in Brisbane here have got a lot to look forward to as they come to the footy each week.
Well, look, they've got a few things that some clubs are just screaming out for. They're chock full of key tools in the forward line, and Shaki didn't play tonight, but Hipwood showed plenty. Close was encouraging, and McStay had his moments as well. They've got a very, very good young tall defender in Harris Andrews.
Yeah, star.
I think they've got some players that struggle with their disposal, which is so important in the modern game. But McCluggage has got to come into the side.
Shaki's kicked 4 today in the NEAFL. Freeman's kicked 3. McCluggage had a fair bit of it, kicked a goal. Big win for Brisbane in that game out at Blacktown. Marco Paparone is coming back from injury.
Christensen would help if he could ever get over his injuries. He's been a bit stiff since going up there. So, but really, it's all about the kids and Shaki. I mean, there's been some media about other clubs circling Shaki as they would, and the big offers will come for him. So, gee, what a decision for a young man to make. I mean, I suppose he'll still get very well looked after in Brisbane. So it's all sort of upside for him. But I mean, if clubs are in Melbourne clubs, he's a Seymour boy. If they're offering, Tats Lotto type figures of 600, 700, 800 grand a year to sign for a long-term deal, it gives a young man a moment to pause, doesn't it? Really. So Brisbane, no doubt, will have some money there for him as well. So that looms as one of the narrative stories of the year until he re-signs. But here's Stanton getting chaired off in game number 250. That is a substantial career by anyone's measure, and he's been a great servant of the footy club.
Josh Kennedy with a big goal for West Coast. It's all level over at Domain Stadium with about 8 minutes to go. Gee, the Saints with a 31 scoring shots tonight, 13-18-96. West Coast 15-6-96. So we'll keep a close eye on that. John Worsfold, thanks to Channel 7, has just had a chat from the coach's box. Let's have a listen right now.
Some nervous moments tonight, but you must have been really proud of your team.
Oh, wrapped with them, yeah. Obviously, really felt we let the game, them dominate the game in that third quarter. But at three-quarter time, the boys wanted just the challenge to play, to take it on. Really, I didn't have to give them too much of a message that they were driving it themselves, and they really responded well.
Was there an unknown known about the returning players, but they seem to be able to run out games perfectly well. They were your best players in key moments again. Joe Watson was outstanding. No dramas at all with Dyson Heppel. Seems to be a really good story unfolding.
Yeah, absolutely. They've obviously done a mountain of work, and they looked like they were struggling at different periods today, but they wanted to dig deep in that last quarter. And I think Marty Gleeson going back with the fly to the ball, I think in front of Martin, set up a goal for us, really probably set the game up for us. And Tipper Moody, we threw him on ball for a 5-minute stint, and he lit the game up as well. So we're wrapped with those things that happened in the last quarter.
There is Woosha in the box just a few moments ago. Pretty happy with his side's return tonight. Joe Watson with the 34 disposals on the first-rate Carline stat sheet. Zach Merritt had the 32. Travis Collier with the 27. Pretty even spread for the Bombers. Everyone making a pretty decent contribution. Brisbane in the end had 2 more inside 50s. 55 to 53. Essendon just their disposal a little bit better tonight, going at 73% compared to the Lions at 63%. Clearances in the end, Brisbane have won that by 10. They were well down at half-time, so certainly were able to get more ascendancy out of the middle and get a bit more scoreboard prowess in the second half. Contested possessions, in fact, Lions won that by 6 as well, but just a bit cleaner. They found a bit of space at the end and took their opportunities really well, the Bombers, in that last quarter.
No doubt about that. I mean, they kicked pretty well, 17-9 as opposed to 12-12. I reckon the Brisbane Lions will know that there's a bit of an opportunity here today that they've let slip quite clearly. But, you know, they've just got to tidy up elements of their game. But I really can only see upside for the Brisbane Lions. And under Fagan, I mean, they had the surprise win last week, and then they were headed, and then they got back in front and just hung on. And here tonight, to come from 7 goals down, it was terrific stuff. I think John Worsfold was quite clearly right there about McDonald, Tip, and Woody. He did light it up in the final term, and they've got so much versatility with their midfield now that they've got the speed of players like McDonald, Tip, and Woody, and Fantasia and Green when he plays, and Travis Collier. That players like that go into the middle and just a little burst, they can open games up, and that's exactly what happened here tonight.
And for the Lions, Dane Beams with the 33 disposals tonight, had the 28 last week, so he is having a great start. Kicked 2 goals, Orko the 29, Rockley for the 28. So the usual suspects at the top of the stat sheet for Brisbane. Mitch Robinson with the 26, and once again, pretty even spread right throughout.
Always great at the Gabba. They let the fans on the oval. They're not too bloody precious about it, although precious about the wicket at times, obviously. But in terms of the other parts of the ground, they close off the wicket, and the kids and the families get out there. It's an old-fashioned but great thing that we see all the time in suburban and country footy, and there should be more of it in the big stuff as well. Just on the John Worsfold interview, he was in the coaching box. He's got the headphones on. Do you reckon it'll take off? It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Didn't Terry Wallace, did he start that years and years ago when he allowed access?
In Perth as well. Yeah. Must be something over at Subiaco.
So, good access with the Bombers getting up by 27. Happy to take a few calls, 9429 11 16. If you're a Bombers fan listening in tonight, or a Lions fan, happy to get your views, 9429 11 16. The Gladiators of Sport will come after us in the next 20 minutes to take you right through to midnight. Zach Merritt, we mentioned his numbers tonight, 32, he's kicked a goal, he's had just the one clearance, had the 5 contested possessions, but he was the key link-up player for the Bombers, uses the ball so well, he's caught up with Cameron Link, thanks to Channel 7 a few moments ago.
Well, Zach, we just spoke to your coach then, John Worsfold. They came at you hard in that third quarter. What did Woosha say to you at three-quarter time? Because the last quarter was really positive.
Well, I think we knew they were going to come and challenge. I mean, there's no easy game in AFL footy these days. We stuck to our basics, and that last quarter sort of got us over the line. It was pretty scruffy, though.
It was a pretty warm night tonight, so as a midfield group, I'm sure you would have been feeling that a little bit, but you must be so pleased. You probably won't want to talk too much about yourself, but your form to start this season, you've really continued on from last year.
Yeah, I'll credit that to Jove and Dice and the guys coming back, but it is great having a bit more of a depth to that midfield, and it's about to run a bit more forward and impact the scoreboards. Something I'm trying to do.
I'm about to have a chat, hopefully, with Orazio Fantasia. That forward line just really dangerous at the moment. There's him, Joey Danaher, McDonald, Tip and Woody really working well together.
Yeah, I guess we're trying to get sort of 50 to 80 games with that sort of core 6 boys going forward. So the way they've come on so strongly so soon is really exciting for the future.
2-0, nice start to the season.
Yeah, it's pretty foreign for me coming to Essendon, so it's again very exciting going forward, and looking forward to Carlton next week.
Yeah, it could be 3-0 with the Blues next week. Zach Merritt on Channel 7 a moment ago. West Coast have taken the lead at Domain Stadium around the grounds from McGregor Portables, an office granny flat or a footy change room anywhere. Kicking well tonight, West Coast, 16-6, 102. They are coming home with a wet sail, St Kilda, 13-19, 97, Rob.
Yeah, well, the trend of the game is that the West Coast are just gradually wearing the Saints down, and with their home crowd urging them on, I think they've got themselves a free kick and another shot at goal, the West Coast Eagles. But, yeah, Essendon's a great story, isn't it? Because we all know what they've been through, and it's been 4 years of hell and all that sort of stuff. But for them to emerge out of it with the #1 draft pick, who looks to be really picking up AFL pace very, very quickly, Andrew McGrath.
Yep.
Parrish is a great young player. They've out of the mess of the situation that they found themselves in last year. They've found some players, though. I mean, Hartley's a handy addition in defence, and obviously McDonald, Tip and Woody, and Orazio Fantasia got more of opportunities last year, and they are flourishing. And they've got a nice mix of youth and and the old hands back there.
And they're pretty healthy, aren't they? I mean, Bellchambers played today, coming back from the knee surgery in the VFL. Leuenberger, who injured his hamstring in, I think it was the second JLT game. Lost Josh Green tonight with a hamstring. We know David Myers is on the long-term injury list, but other than that, everyone's up and about to pick from for the Bombers.
Leuenberger's just never had a run at it, really.
No.
Just perennially injured. Famously...
Interesting what they do. Leuenberger and Bellchambers, and then McKernan. I mean, he's been pretty solid for the first 2 weeks of the season, just in terms of their structure.
Well, what's the pecking order? Be Leuenberger...
Bellchambers be just ahead of Leuenberger. Interesting one. Bombers fans, if you want to weigh in, how you'd go, 9429 11 16. It's a great problem to have for John Worsfold.
Well, Bellchambers just hasn't played for so long.
No.
So you're not quite sure what you're going to get. But the advantage he brings is that he can genuinely go forward and kick a few snags for you.
Yeah.
And those players in the modern age, if your second ruckman, David Hailstyke, can give you significant minutes as a forward, they're probably going to have to go that way. You can't play two genuine ruckmen, I don't think, anymore. The second one's got to spend some minutes forward.
Yep. Tight going as the clock continues to tick at Domain Stadium. As Josh Kendi puts himself right in the crunch. A 6-point lead here for West Coast. 16-7, 103. St Kilda 13-19, 97. Got about 3.5 minutes to play. Well, we've sung the praises tonight of Orazio Fantasia. He's kicked 5 from his 13 disposals. 2 inside 50s, a man who makes the most of every opportunity coming forward. And he has spoken to Channel 7 and linking a short time ago.
Well, I've got Orazio Fantasia here. I've been told to call you Raz. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got Raz or Razzle Dazzle. That's a few of my nicknames.
Well, I reckon after tonight, Razzle Dazzle's a pretty good nickname. 5 goals. You've got to be pleased with that. And you're starting the season. Your form's terrific.
Yeah, I think it's just the way our mids are moving the ball. Our forward line's pretty quick. We like to get, deep and create some length in the forward line. Our mids ball usage is great, so it's really up to them putting it on my plate.
And the mids are working well together. We just had a chat with Zach Merritt there. He's continued on from last year, but having the 2 old heads, Dyson Heppel and Joe Watson, back in the team, the composure's there, isn't it?
Oh, the composure, the leadership, the way they go about it during the week, they're absolute stars. They put in extras along with Zach, and as you said, Zach's taking his game to the next level, and it helps out the other guys. Zach was getting tagged late, and the other 2 get off the chain, so they work so well together.
Now, what happened in the 3rd quarter? Because the other 3 quarters sensational. Was it just Brisbane playing really?
Oh, okay. We've just lost a bit of Horatio Fantasia. Get that out, Brett. With Cameron Ling. Good night though. 5 goals, 4 goals last week. What a return for that young man in the first 2 weeks of the AFL season. And the smalls have been Collier, Fantasia. Throw Green back into the mix when he comes back from a hamstring. Got some real bite at ground level to complement some very exciting tools. Danaher, who was pretty solid. In fact, one stage he sort of drifted back to half-back. Danaher there for a little while and just sort of had a free rein. I mean, he's such a good athlete.
Yeah, he might have been having a run on the ball to give McKernan a bit of a chop out. But they can load up with tools, or they can go a bit smaller if they want to. There's a lot of options they can get you on the slingshot. It's Collier was good tonight, wasn't he? Got a fair bit of the ball.
Yep.
So 27 possessions for him. Let's go through them. Watson 33, Merritt 32. Gee, Watson worked his way into the game. That's great. Collier 27, Heppel 23, and Goddard 21. And for the Brisbane Lions, Beams magnificent, 33 possessions. Zorko 29, Rockcliffe 28, and Mitch Robinson was handy in that midfield tonight with 26 possessions.
We'll take a break. We'll come back and wrap up here from the Gabba. A good night for Essendon, 17-9, 111. Brisbane 12-12, 84. Around the ground for McGregor Portables. West Coast now with another goal over at Domain Stadium, 17-7, 109. St Kilda 13-19, 97. We'll take a break. 11-16 SEN footy for Subway, Toyota and Poker Deluxe fundraisers.
G'day, it's the Ox here. Join Mark and myself every Thursday night on the run home. It's about the footy with pure footy with Kingy and Luffy, plus Herald Sun chief footy writer Mark Robinson, and all the team news on 11-16 SEN, Melbourne's home of footy.
Hi, Glenn here from Air Conditioning Warehouse Sales. When's the best time to buy a wall split for your home? That's easy. When summer's over and cashbacks are back. So right now you can get by far Melbourne's best inverter wall split prices. Plus up to $250 cashback on top brands like Fujitsu, Kelvinator, Panasonic and LG to name a few. Air Conditioning Warehouse Sales. Dandenong, Kilsyth, Thomastown, Deer Park and Hoppers Crossing. Go online anytime at airwaresales.com.au.
When your stomach tells you, but your pockets say, here's your answer. The $4.50 Subway 6-inch sub of the day. It's a different Subway 6-inch sub of the day every day for just $4.50. Meatball on Mondays, ham on Tuesdays, pizza sub with cheese on Saturdays, just to name a few. That'll keep your stomach and your pockets full. Sub of the day at Subway. Limited time only at participating restaurants. See in store for details.
Toyota Australia and Kangan Institute's Automotive Centre of Excellence have partnered together to provide job opportunities to successful pre-apprentices. So if you want a career with a major automotive brand like Toyota, a pre-apprenticeship at Kangan Institute's Automotive Centre of Excellence is the place for you. A pre-apprenticeship with Kangan Institute helps you leap into the industry. Call 1300 298 290 or go to aceauto.com.au.
Some or all of this training is delivered with Victorian and Commonwealth Government funding. RTO number 3077.
How's it going?
Next time we renovate, remind me not to do it myself.
Oh, whoa. Is that asbestos?
I guess it could be. The house was built in the 70s.
Well, let's give Identifiber a call.
Good idea.
Don't guess with your health. If you're concerned about an unknown material, call Identifiber on 9570 1555 or see identifiber.com.au. Identifiber, asbestos and hazardous materials risk management services.
Better safe than sorry.
Before you book your next Toyota service, find out in advance how much it will cost and what's included, guaranteed. Search Toyota service pricing for details. Conditions apply.
For Toyota's Good for Footy program, kicking goals for grassroots clubs. Subway's Sub of the Day, just $4.50 at Subway. See in store for details. And Poker Deluxe fundraisers, guaranteeing $1,000 profit for your sports club. This is SEN Saturday Night Football with Brisbane and Essendon from the Gabba. Tomorrow from 12, we're off to Etihad Stadium for the Cats and the Kangaroos on Melbourne's home of footy.
Big win for the Bombers tonight. They're 2-0 for the season, 17-9-111, defeating Brisbane 12-12-84, led by Joe Watson with 33 disposals, Zach Merritt with 32. We'll give our votes very shortly for tyre power, and it looks like the West Coast Eagles are well home now with the final siren not too far away. Big final quarter by the Eagles over at Domain Stadium, 18-8-116, leading St Kilda 13-19-97, of course, for McGregor Portables, an office, granny flat, or footy change room anywhere. We've mentioned Joe Danaher and his good solid start to the season. He's just had a chat to Cameron Ling, thanks to Channel 7.
Well, we've just had a chat to Razzle Dazzle, as he's called himself on national television, but he's stolen your thunder. I mean, he's the goal kicker of the team, so do you just have to clear out now from him?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, he's got his way now. He's pushed me and Kale out, so no, it's super, and it's on the back of pressure, so that's what we want from those guys. At any given day, it could be Raz, it could be Wallo, it could be Joshy Green, so it's really good.
And you're kicking, I know we talk a lot about it, you probably don't love it, but you really had the kicking boots on. Been working hard on it. Nice to get that bit of reward.
Yeah, it is. It's a work in progress, and it's nice when they're straight in front. So it's good just to get them on track, and it's good for the team.
Any win's a good win, but to come interstate and have a win, that's really important. The boys are calling you. Get off. Well done tonight.
There he is, Big Joe. Good solid night with the 3 goals.
Kick straight.
Having a look at his numbers, 13 disposals, the 3 goals straight. And they're all nice conventional left foot kicks, nothing around the corner.
No, it wasn't kicking them over his head and stuff. He just lined it up and slotted it straight through. It was good.
Eagles are home over at Domain Stadium, 18-8-116. They've defeated St Kilda 13-19-97. They look a bit, a bit knackered, the Saints, and just disappointed, you'd have to say. Certainly took it up to the Eagles, got off to a great start. Would really hurt that loss to Melbourne last week, but the Eagles have finished beautifully and converted when it counts most in that second half, and one that goes missing certainly for the Saints. A big day of footy that saw Adelaide 24-point winners over the Hawks and GWS 102-point winners over the Gold Coast.
I mean, Yeah, those sort of results just rip clubs to shreds, don't they? And they've got a lot of talent, the Gold Coast Suns. They shouldn't be losing by 17 goals to anyone.
Well, their starts have been disgraceful, really. I mean, Brisbane jumping them 7 goals to zip last week. They just weren't in the contest early against the Giants. I mean, I knew the Giants would have been breathing fire after losing to the Crows so comprehensively last week, and the Gold Coast weren't ready for the challenge. So
but they got within,
big question marks.
They got within, I don't know, something like 20 odd points.
Yeah.
And they kicked 5 in a row to sort of rest the momentum back, and then they outscored by the next 12 goals.
Well, as described by the SEN team earlier, and we've seen a few highlights, but they became witches' hats in that last part of the game. So big Saturday of footy. We're about to give our awards and our votes. I can see SJ Peak, Tony Sheehan, ready to go for a big Saturday night of the Gladiators. They'll take plenty of calls. If you're a Lions fan, if you're a Bombers fan, if you're a footy fan in general, make sure you jump on the line after we finish up here at the Gabba. 9429 1116. Let's give our awards. The SEN Chisholm and Gaiman goal of the night. And there was that big one right on three-quarter time. Dane Zorko, who can just turn those half opportunities into something pretty special.
And he had to kick it like a banana on the run, and he still managed to settle himself. He's got a lot of talent and skill, that man. And so he gets the Chisholm and Gaiman goal of the night tonight, Dane Zorko. 29
disposals for Zorko. Just had a little brain fade there at the end.
Yep.
That might have allowed Brisbane to sneak back into the game. The SEN Glenn Cameron group mark of the night. That's another Cameron's can-do grab. There was a few high flyers tonight.
Oh, there were. In the end, though, we've come up with Joey Danaher's leap early. So, so 2 minutes left, and then you're off the ground, ladies and gents. That's what that was all about. So Joey Danaher had a good night, solid night for him. Just did the basics well, but that was a great moment for him, a real hanger.
Kicked beautifully. I'm allowing you to do the votes tonight. The SEN
thanks.
Tyre Power Player of the Night. Tyre Power's massive Easter sale catalogue is online now. You can just head to tyrepower.com.au. A few that are probably unfortunate to miss out. But
yes, apologies to many, but we've got to make a call. So I gave one to Orazio Fantasia tonight. Anytime a small forward kicks 5, he was explosive and dangerous, and he was good too when they really needed it in the final quarter. I thought McDonald, Tip and Woody was stiff not to get a vote, and maybe Job Watson as well, but I've gone with a goal kicker because it can't be a midfielder's award all the time. So 1 to Orazio, 2 to Dane Beams, who was just tremendous for the Brisbane Lions. Clearly their best player, 33 disposals, 2 goals, and he is reminding us of just how big a star he is and how much they missed him last year. And I thought the best player on the ground tonight and the most effective player was young Zach Merritt, who I think is an A-plus player now for Essendon. He is a real young champion in the making. Again, he had a heap of it tonight. 32 disposals. He kicked a goal. He was very efficient, and what he plays, he was great tonight again.
Rob,
3 to Zach Merritt.
Only 2 rounds in, but what are you forecasting for both of these teams who were surprise round 1 winners? It's gone down to the wire tonight. Essendon pulling away late. What's your expectation for both of these teams?
I think Essendon will be eyeing finals now, and I don't think there's any ceiling on what they can achieve in 2017. They just may as well go for it, keep developing. I've got a really good blend of some really young A-grade talent. Young McGrath's really picking up this AFL caper quickly, and it won't be long before he's in the midfield. And they're quick young forwards. Fantasia, McDonald, Tip and Woody. Parrish is a star in the making. They've a good young forward in Danaher. It probably hinges on whether Hartley can hold up in defence, if they have the luxury of playing hooker forward. Probably got to sort out the ruck spots, but really good midfield, plenty of goal scoring power. They look a final side to me, but it's very competitive, as we know. And Brisbane, well, they just need to make the Gabba a real fortress for them, make it hard for other sides to win up there. You know, they'd be eyeing off 6 to 7 wins, I would have thought.
Yeah, super competitive. They've got the Saints next week, who will be licking their wounds coming back from Perth at 0-2. We're out of here. The kids have been kicked off the Gabba. That's it for a bit of kick to kick. We're out of here as well. Thank you, Rob.
Blake's banging on the door. We've got to go.
Exactly.
See you, Brett.
Big win tonight for the Bombers, 17-911. Brisbane 12-12-84. Eagles get it done in Perth, 18-8-1-16. St Kilda 13-19-97. Earlier today it was Adelaide. 24-point winners over the Hawks. The Giants by 102 points over the Gold Coast. Tony Sheehan and Stephen J. Peake are going to dissect that next. The Gladiators of Sport coming up. Give them a call, 9429 1116. 1116 SEN footy for Subway. There's Sub of the Day, just $4.50 at Subway. You can see in store for details. Toyota and their Good for Footy program with Good for Footy stories at toyota.com.au/AFL stories. And Poker Deluxe fundraisers, guaranteeing a $1,000 profit for your sports club.
Round 2 of the 2017 Toyota AFL season continues tomorrow afternoon from midday with Geelong and North Melbourne from Etihad Stadium. Join Andrew Marr, David Schwartz, Danny Frawley and Nick Del Santo for all the action.
Here we go for Menzel. He's got a vacant goal square. He sends it in that direction and he puts it through.
Followed at 4:15 by Port Adelaide and the Dockers.
Five on his left boot around the body. That is a beautiful finish.
11:16 SEN, Melbourne's home of footy. SEN Football, the Toyota's Good for Footy program. Kicking goals for grassroots clubs. Subway's Sum of the Day, just $4.50 at Subway. See in-store for details. And Poker Deluxe fundraisers, guaranteeing $1,000 profit for your sports club.
G'day, it's Brett Anderson from SEN Inside Football. If you're looking at finalising your fantasy team, March's season preview issue is your best friend. All 815 players' pre-season form lines analysed, along with best 22s and ladder predictions. It's all here in the one place. Plus, Port's Ollie Wines on Facing the Chop, James Aish on his move from Brisbane, and we preview all the ins and outs from each VFL, Sandful, Waffle and Neefle club. Grab a copy from your local newsagent, Woolworths, Coles, 7-Eleven, Caltex or Coles Express. For 47 years, Inside Football has been taking you inside the game.
Are you G6PD deficient? Maybe you're allergic to broad beans or fava beans, or have been told you have a condition called G6PD deficiency and therefore cannot take certain medications. The Centre for Clinical Studies is looking for healthy men aged 18 to 55 who are willing to be tested for G6PD deficiency via a blood sample. Participants are reimbursed for their time. For more information, contact the Centre for Clinical Studies on 1800 243 733 or visit clinicalstudies.com.au.
This Good Friday, Henley and Villawood Properties will auction a brand new home for the Royal Children's Hospital. The 41-square double-storey Henley home has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 powder rooms and is professionally landscaped, ready for you to move in. Located in Villawood's Armstrong community in Mount Dunedin on Geelong's Surf Coast. The buyer will have access to the exclusive residents-only Club Armstrong. Bid for this Henley home at a no-reserve auction on Good Friday at 2 p.m. Inspect now. Visit gfacharityhouse.com.au.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg for the Family Peace Foundation. Couples who have high levels of financial stress have been found to be around 4 times more likely to suffer excessive conflict at best and family violence at worst. If you need help with budgeting, reach out to a financially savvy friend or work colleague or seek professional help. For more, go to the Family Peace Foundation website now. Family Peace. Do it for your children.
At Footy Training, we warm up with it. In backyards and local parks, we play it. Kick to kick. Are you Victoria's best?
Find out in SEN and Zambrero's Kick to Kick Challenge. Compete within your club to be the best 2 kickers. Then represent your team in our Kick to Kick Carnival.
Hundreds of Victorian AFL clubs, 3 age divisions, 1 winning duo. Every successful kick on Grand Final Day, Sunday, May 7, goes towards Zambrero's Plate for Plate initiative, providing a meal to someone in need.
SEN and Zambrero's Kick to Kick Challenge.
Register your team now. kicktokick.com.au.
Now at Petstock, save 30% on Advantage, Advocate and Advantix treatment ranges. Sale ends soon. Shop in store or online at petstock.com.au.
Who do you think will be the Tyre Power Player of the Year?
Register your vote at sen.com.au
and you could win $5,000. Tyre Power's massive Easter sale gives you the power to buy 3 and get 1 free on a great range of Toyo passenger and SUV tyres. Conditions apply.
Vote now for your chance at $5,000.
sen.com.au. On 11:16 SEN, the Gladiators of Footy. Footy Straight Talk with Stephen J. Peake and Tony Sheehan. 9429 1116.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls out in SEN land for another big Saturday night edition of course, Football Straight Talk, the gladiators of football here. Great to be back for our second week for this football season. And what a mighty round of matches it's been so far. But without further ado, allow me to introduce my guest sitting opposite me, a man who's he's in the big time there with the journalism, football journalism. He gets stories around town. You wouldn't know where he was 1 minute when you're trying to track him around the city. Gets stories from all over the place. And he's the one and only Tony Two Phones Sheehan. How are you, Tony?
Peaky, great to be back on the wireless tonight after a very interesting start to round two.
Very interesting stuff. Great matches so far. And if anyone thinks that we're blessed with so many great matches in the first two rounds of football, well, by golly, we've seen some rippers. Even Richmond Collingwood had some interesting factors about it the other night. No doubt the Richmond supporters very happy. But the Bulldogs-Sydney match last night to me was absolutely a rip snorter of the highest order to see the two grand finalists so early in the season go at it in such remarkable fashion. So early in the season, Tony, I was quite surprised.
Well, Peaky, look, I must admit I was on a plane from Sydney to Melbourne, but everything I've seen in the review suggests to me that it was an incredible match. I mean, when Sam Reid kicks 6, Buddy kicks 4 in a losing game to the Western Bulldogs, you know you're in for a very good night.
Well, I think I made a few notes from that game, and I believe that Lance Franklin is certainly in the upper echelon of forwards in the history of football.
And the upper echelon?
In the upper
echelon.
He'd
have to be in the top 5 now.
Well, he's in the upper echelon of forwards in the game. I've anointed him or announced that he is, as far as long kicks for goal on the run, he's the best exponent of a forward on the run from the longest distance out, from a distance on the run kicking goals. He's done it so many times now that consistency comes into my equations when I make these assessments of players, and he's the best at it in the history of the game.
Oh, he is an excitement machine like no other. He has brought an energy, and we can even go as far back as Hawthorn. Like what he did for that footy club was unbelievable. The other thing is, he's obviously the deal to get him to Sydney was one of unbelievable feats by Andrew Ireland and the Sydney board. And look what he's done to Sydney. You're exactly right in regards to his exponent of a long bomb and the brilliance of which he does it with when he's on the run and he runs around on his left foot. He's just, as we said, he creates energy. And he's beautiful to watch.
He's magnificent to watch. And look, he was the spark that at various times, even in the first part of the game when he was a little bit quiet, but then into the latter part of the match to do what he did to get them back in. And, of course, Sam Reid was phenomenal for them in the forward line as well. Seeing him after a massive number of games lost through injury, that lad has been able to come back and play top-quality centre-half forward football the way he did.
Well, the other thing is, for the Swans forward line, with Reid and Buddy kicking 10 between them, that Kurt Tippett went down early with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
So obviously they've been reliant on the two big guys, but with Tippett going down, it would have created a bit of mental anguish for the Swans and the coaching staff, because the Bulldogs would then have thought, well, Tippett's a 6'7" figurehead. We're obviously going to focus on Buddy, but then Sam Reid pops up and kicks 6. It's another conundrum that the Bulldogs didn't have to face.
It is, and let's hope Tippett. I'm not too sure what his prognosis is for the next few weeks, but they certainly need him back. He's very important to that side. They need him in there, along with Big Naismith, who played a reasonable game in the ruck. But on the other side of the coin in the Bulldogs team now, look, Travis Cloke now in 2 weeks has put in 2 very good matches. Last week he was solid. This week I thought he was a very, very good forward and a rock-solid man, a leader down in that Bulldogs forward line. He ended up, I think, with about 120 champion data points. I think he had by the end of it. I think he had 19 or 20 possessions, kicked the first 2 goals down to get the Bulldogs rolling. He has become critical. He's instrumental down there now, and he's come out of a Collingwood system which, for some reason or other, he either didn't understand what they required of him there, or it wasn't explained to him in a fashion that he was able to understand to get him into a position where he could play solid, good quality football. So it seems to rest to me that if Cloke's form continues in this vein, Tony, who takes the blame at Collingwood?
It's a very good question, Peaky.
Who takes the blame for the fact that they couldn't get out of him what the Bulldogs are currently get out of him? Or is it a case of him going to a super top side, a Premier team, with quality, strong people around him and everything that goes with that? or is it is it some other reason? So there's a massive difference here.
I would love to get inside Travis Cloke's head and find out what was the difference between him being at Collingwood and the pressure that he must have faced being the focal point down at Collingwood. I mean, look, we know Jesse White has become probably their new focal point, but Travis Cloke, I think, arguably is a better forward than Jesse White. He's got more runs on the board, except Travis's inconsistencies at Collingwood made him the whipping boy for the team and the media, and coupled with his somewhat quite big salary in his second last year at the Pies, they thought it better to trade him. Look where he is at the Dogs. He has become a member of that team rather than an individual at Collingwood who everybody relied on.
It's an amazing turnaround, and he's been welcomed there with open arms. And also, their forward line now, as much as it won them a flag last year with less with smaller players and with more medium-sized guys, they didn't have access to Cramry or Cloke at that point in time, and just had Boyd. They had to pinch hit with him in the ruck. The setup now is, and also with Cramry there along with Boyd and Cloke, if they can play all of them up forward at the same time along with their three smalls around them, it's now very difficult for other teams. Other teams, it's no good looking at last year's Bulldogs to try the match-up situation because
they had injuries.
It's different. Yeah.
They had a plethora of injuries last year, and many thought they wouldn't even get through the finals, let alone a premiership, and look what they've been able to do.
And they've strengthened their list since then with what they've been able to put together there, and they've still got plenty of depth. So the other boy that I thought was fantastic for them was Lin Jong, was superb, especially I think in the second or third quarter. He had about 12 possessions. He was a driving force for them, and there's another one who didn't play in the premiership that is super strong for them as well. So they've got certainly plenty to look forward to. Tony, you've got the scores there. I might get you here on 11:16 SEN on the Gladiators of Football Straight Talk. We're calling for your calls. 94291116, 94291116, and SMS 0433981116. I'll say that again for you. 0433981116 for your SMSs. And 94291116 on the phone line there, Tony. Why don't you, while we're waiting for those calls to come through, you might like to read out today's or this weekend's or the results we do have there from today. Thank you.
Well, Peaky, the latest scores that we have from the AFL Round 2 is that the Essendon Football Club were victorious over the Brisbane Lions. After a late scare, they finished with 17-19, 111 to Brisbane Lions, 12-12, 84 up at the Gabba. It was a fantastic win to celebrate Brent Stanton's 250th game. The boy they call Humphrey down there at Tullamarine, Peaky. So
Humphrey,
yeah. They the rumour mill suggests that he didn't speak for the first 4 years, so they called him Humphrey.
Is that where he got it from? Did he?
Well, allegedly, yes.
Well, I like that. That's a good way. It's a good word for both journalists and lawyers. Allegedly, it's a cover-all, and it means you won't get into any trouble. So, but good on Brent Stanton. That's a mighty performance. So another milestone for a top player there, who unfortunately last year was out for the year with the other players who had been banned, and now he comes back.
And we'll go into that game in a little bit more depth and hopefully get one of their players on before the end of the show. Now, also, St Kilda, your mob, went down to the West Coast Eagles 13-19-97 to the West Coast Eagles 18-8, 116.
Yes.
GWS came back from a sloppy first-round defeat and annihilated the Gold Coast. GWS 24-16, 160 to the Gold Coast 8-10-58. Rodney Eade was asked a very pertinent question during the press conference and almost stumbled for words. And hopefully we'll get the boys out the back to provide audio for that shortly. And in the other game today, Hawthorn, 13-11-89 to Eddie Betts' Adelaide Crows, 16-17, 113. So Hawthorn, 0-2, Sydney, 0-2. I don't think Hawthorn's been 0-2 since 2009.
Correct.
A year they didn't play in the finals.
Correct. After they won that initial premature flag, if you want to call it that, they had a poor start to the 2009 season and played catch-up footy for the rest of the year. Just missed the finals, not by much, I think a game or two, but was too much for them by then.
Well, who would have thought Richmond would be on top, if not near top of the ladder after round 2? Again, it's only 2 weeks into the season, but geez, I tell you what, there's been some interesting results thus far.
Well, Richmond have beaten a couple of old rivals that have been, the first team, Carlton, as we know, is in a total rebuild, and the second side, Collingwood, at the moment seems to be in a state of whatever. I'd say not disarray, but I know they've got players injured, but they seem to have their forward lines not operating efficiently at all, not operating correctly for them. They have now, by giving away Cloak, they're now 1 target short. They dropped Cox because he didn't do the job in the first week, and Moore at the moment seems to be a little bit out of sorts for some reason or other. He's just not quite where he was last year at his top. So
yeah,
he's just a growing lad. He needs strong help around him. I mean, the fact he's now basically the leading forward up there, that's going to put a lot of pressure on him, and he's going to have defenders jumping into him every week unless Buckley can find someone to go down there to take some of the heat off him, and maybe that's got to be what White's job. But they need to protect him a little bit because he's not a big bone boy yet. He's still trying to put strength on. Yeah, maybe he needs another year in the gym. We know he had that serious knee injury. I think it was last year, if not the year before. The other thing is reading and very interesting article in the Herald Sun today, Peaky. Yeah.
And the headline says Taylor Adams, that is.
Taylor Adams.
Players failed Buckley. Now, that may be true, but whenever I see that the players start sticking up for the coach in that fashion, I always start to worry.
Yes, and I think Scott Pendlebury also during the week said, look, he can't kick the ball for us, he can't come down and handball it and do everything that needs to be done. But the players, what he does have on the field, and we know it's not a full contingent, we know they've got injuries, he can't get his best side on the park, and at the same time, they're not playing very good football. Although they did challenge the Bulldogs in the first game, they played Collingwood, they did show some spark at various times and pushed the Bullies out a little bit. The Bullies played that game in what I call staccato style. They sort of played 2 good quarters and just held the game up for the other 2.
But at the end of the day, no one worries about how they played. It just goes back to the win-loss column. And to digress for a minute, when we go back to Taylor Adams and Scott Pendlebury's defence of the coach, no, Nathan Buckley is not out there, but I distinctly remember Mark Murphy, if not Bryce Gibbs and others, saying the same thing of Mick Malthouse some time ago, and I thought... Yeah. That is not a very good sign.
That's not a good sign at all, and we'll have a good think about that. We've got a caller there. Craig's in Eltham. Come in, Craig.
Yeah, how you going?
Good on you, Craigie.
Oh, look, watching the game tonight, I've just never seen a worse umpired game of football in my life like this. Like, the Saints had a fairly good crack, and, mate, we were robbed. Completely robbed tonight. If you watch the game, I mean, obviously, Essendon covered. It was a disgrace.
Well, I saw a fair bit of it, and there were some complex decisions at various times. I thought there was 13 frees to 2 at one stage of the game. Tony, I don't know whether you know the final result of that, but it was certainly, I think at half-time, 13 frees to West Coast, 2 to St Kilda. So I'm not too sure. I saw Montagna talking to the umpires at half-time. I saw Carlisle and Brown in fairly... heated conversation, you could call it, with the umpires at one stage. I think it was just the same half-time break. There was something out there they weren't happy with. There were a couple of incidents, I think, where Carlisle at one stage was blocked. He was trying to run with Darling in a marking contest that he got blocked by a West Coast player and didn't get a free, and Darling got the mark. So not too sure how that is. When the ball's 5 metres away, you can't block. So I think he was having a bit of a crack at that situation. But there were some very average type decisions along the way. But look, at the end of it, St Kilda's ball kicking for goal. They'll rue the day they kicked 6-7 in the first quarter when they had West Coast on toast, don't you?
But going to Craig's point, Peaky, now, just if my arithmetic serves me correctly, that St Kilda had frees against of 19 to 8.
Was it 19 to 8 by the end of the game?
Well, that's what my arithmetic tells me.
Okay, 19
to 8. That's a big anomaly. But as some of the other professionals in this game say, well, if the free kicks are there, you've got to award them. I mean, look at Callum Mills. I mean, not sure that was a free kick, but it was paid.
Look, there was. I think they'll have a good look at some of the frees in that game. But you just hope that over in WA that the crowd, although the crowd weren't quite very vocal. I think in the first 2.5 quarters. Only sort of started to get, I think, into it in the last quarter and a bit when the West Coast started to get closer.
Now, Peaky, we came on air before, and on the screen inside the studio was Joey Montagna.
Yeah.
I think his right leg was bandaged, lower leg. What happened there?
I'm not sure. I thought he was... Well, he came off at one stage, he looked exhausted, but I'm not too sure whether he was injured or what. But if he had a leg bandage, obviously that's either probably more than cramp. It could be an injury. So I'm not too sure. I haven't read any reports yet to see exactly what that might be. We've got some audio ready, I think, at this point in time. We've got Rodney Eade post-game asked about whether his players cared enough about how they were playing their football.
Today, I think it was just a team that was more hungry than us early. I think they just worked harder. They were harder at the contest. They ran harder. Again, the number of mistakes we made, I think they get 23, 24 goals. They got 16 goals from turnover, which is horrendous.
Do your players care enough, Rodney? And it happens when they win. They don't celebrate like other sides, and they don't seem to burn like other sides. They're flatliners.
Oh, look at them in there. They were burning inside. Yeah, I think it manifests itself in different ways, and people can interpret that. They do care whether they are a quiet group, whether we've gone too far as young. So we might need some more experience here to give a level head and be able to drive that. And Barlow and Rosa help that. The young players we've got, even the ones in the seconds, are fairly quiet guys, and they, at this stage of their careers, probably sheep to a degree. So whether that manifests itself out, do people think they don't care? I know they do care, but it's the confidence has sort of actually come out of the balloon at the moment. We've got to reinforce it.
Interesting comments there by Rodney Eade. We might come back and have a good think during the ad break there about those comments, and go to our first advertisement break here at 11:16 SEN, Melbourne's home of sport.
Your favourite footy shows are back for season 2017 on 11:16 SEN. Sunday mornings from 10, we go inside football with Adam Cooney.
Saints, they've got a lot of young up-and-coming stars, so those guys can go to another level. I think the Saints can finish in the 8.
And Mark Fine.
Again, the courage of AFL footballers is unquestioned on both sides of the ledger. He was the bit of class that really made the difference.
Inside football, full-on footy analysis every Sunday morning from 10. 11:16 SEN, Melbourne's home of footy.
The bigger your warehouse, factory or shop, the more you spend on lighting. So if you're still using old-fashioned high bays, you may as well just be pouring money down the drain. Make the switch to Paradigm LED. We provide super bright LED equivalents free. All you pay for is installation. You'll get better light, less maintenance time, and drastically cut your lighting bills. Offers like this surely can't last. Save with Paradigm LED now. Visit freehighbays.com.au.
Conditions apply.
Hello, my name's Alan Rodway, and I am proud to announce the upcoming SEN Business Coaching Forums. Any business you are in, small, medium, large, these intimate breakfast forums bring key people in business together. Whether you're a business owner, a senior manager, or aspiring to be either, SEN's Business Coaching Forums are designed to help you be better at business. Our first event is on Thursday, April 20. To register, go to sen.com.au/businesscoach.
Hello. The all-new National Tiles online store is now open. Yes, buy National Tiles now on your smartphone, tablet or PC 24/7 at the all-new nationaltiles.com.au. Hundreds of images of beautifully tiled rooms to inspire you at your fingertips at nationaltiles.com.au. From a sample to an entire house lot, nationaltiles.com.au is the smartest way to buy wall and floor tiles in Australia. Go to nationaltiles.com.au now.
Every weekday between 12 and 3 p.m. on 11:16 SEN, it's Afternoons with Francis Leach, and he's got some extra European expertise. Volvo, Swedish luxury, design and innovation. Volvo, proud sponsors of Afternoons with Francis Leach.
Before you book your next Toyota service, find out in advance how much it will cost and what's included, guaranteed. Search Toyota service pricing for details. Conditions apply.
On 11:16 SEN, the gladiators of footy. Footy Straight Talk with Stephen J. Peake and Tony Sheehan. 9429 11:16.
Yeah, just before we go to our next caller there, here on 11:16 SEN, Melbourne's home of sport, you're listening to Footy Straight Talk here with Tony Sheehan and Stephen J. Peake every Saturday night straight after the game. The free kicks St Kilda West Coast were 23 to West Coast, 8 to St Kilda. I'm making no comment on that. That's for the officials during the week and make further comment.
Hang on a
about
minute.
that.
You're allowed to make a comment.
Well, I can make a comment, but I must admit I got so involved in the game. There were 3 or 4, maybe 5 incidents there that I thought were very shaky. So, I wasn't happy with them. But at the other side of the coin, St Kilda had 45 inside 50s to 46. So the opportunities were there, and the kicking for goal was very poor. But just let me say to Mark in Aspendale, I mean, yes, I am a St Kilda supporter, so there's that part of me, and the other part of me I'm trying to analyse from what I've seen. Now, West Coast finished the game off stronger, and good luck to them. They won the game. St Kilda probably controlled that match for about 75% of the game. They had the control of it and should have been a lot further in front at various stages, in particular the first quarter when they kicked a wasteful 6-7 to West Coast's 4 goals. So 13 shots to 4 and only 19 points ahead at quarter time. Make of that what you want. You can give me the old adage of bad kicking is bad football or whatever you want to say, but the opportunities were there and they had a big opportunity to have their first win there. Fred from Noble Park says, Peaky, how bad is St Kilda? Probably worse than the Pies. Well, Fred, if you think St Kilda are worse than Collingwood at this point in time, I don't think you actually watch games. I think you might need to go and grab some refreshment or something or other, because I think you're way off the mark there, son.
Why is that?
Well, we might be both 0 and 2, but if he believes, I'll tell you right now, I'd rather be in Alan Richardson's position at St Kilda than Nathan Buckley's position at Collingwood and Collingwood. Collingwood were reasonable the first week against the Bullies, and this time around they weren't too bad against Richmond, but they've got a few issues to sort out.
They do, yeah.
This week they've got Sydney in Sydney. Now that might sort them out a bit more.
Although Sydney is 0 and 2 as well.
They are, but these figures that we've got here now at the start of the season, the first 4 weeks, are a little bit illusory. As much as what they are actual, they're also illusory, and that Sydney is, to me, a potential grand finalist.
They are a potential grand finalist, but that is based on previous year's form. The other thing is I do like your point about Collingwood, and I think they are for an interesting run.
Yes.
Because people keep bringing up round 6 to me. Now, I'm not going to say why, but they just keep bringing up round 6, and I will say that Nathan Buckley's men have an interesting next 3 to 4 weeks, and I'll tell you why. They have Sydney at the SCG next week.
Yep. Then
the following week, they've got your St Kilda at Etihad Stadium.
Which they don't like it there, yep.
The following week, they've got Essendon, who are on a roll. As we've said, they've just beaten Brisbane, and they had a fantastic victory over the Hawks last week. Then they faced Geelong at the MCG. Now, I don't like, based on the past 2 weeks, I don't like Collingwood's next 4 weeks.
Collingwood, look, let's face it, they could be zipping 6. That's the elephant in the room. We may as well say it. They're at the moment, unless something drastic happens, they could be zipping 6. And if they're zipping 6, the pressure down at Collingwood will be like a submarine heading to the bottom of the ocean at the 200-metre mark when the valves all start popping out.
I couldn't have said it better myself, but why don't we get the Collingwood supporters to ring in and give their point of view? But the other point I want to make, I spoke to somebody very senior within the AFL ranks today, and they said, why would Collingwood potentially change their coach mid-season? You don't change a jockey halfway through a race. Why would you do that to a coach?
It's happened to clubs in the past.
No doubt.
No, fair stanza,
I think Nathan Buckley is a good coach from what I've seen, but results don't suggest that he's had the opportunities, and they have gone backwards under since Mick Malthouse handed the reins over.
Well, they've made decisions to get rid of most of their 2010, 2011 list. We've dispatched, a fair number of them are dispatched fairly quickly.
Yeah, but like Dane Beams was the best on ground for the Lions tonight.
Yeah.
Heath Shaw is a superstar at GWS.
Yep. Cloak is now starring at the Bulldogs.
Cloak is now a fully fledged member of the Bulldogs forward line.
Yep.
What the hell is going on?
And Nathan Brown actually played a pretty good game tonight against West Coast on Kennedy up until the last quarter bit when Kennedy got away a couple of times. But up till then, at half-time, Kennedy had no goals and I think 2 possessions.
Yeah, but he did kick 4-1 in the end.
He kicked 4-1 at the finish, but on the whole of it, you'd probably say that Brown, if you didn't break even with him, you beat him. It's either one or the other. Kennedy
Yeah, but in the end, Kennedy's a match winner because the West Coast beat St Kilda.
Yeah, but then Eddie Betts was a match winner today for kicking 3 goals in a quarter and whatever, and that was the end of Hawthorn. We'll talk about that soon. Phil's in, wants to talk about St Kilda, the Eagles and Saints game. Come in, Phil.
Phil from Ackland Street. The word on the street in Ackland Street is, how the hell did the Saints let a bloke kick 5 goals on him, the drug-addled import? We want to know, why did we get the drug-addled import who had
I think Phil there from St Kilda's having a few difficulties there. We'll go to Ben in Sanctuary Cove. Come in, Ben.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to speak with Melbourne's most eligible bachelor, the arbiter of swill, the top hat and tails wearing male model extraordinaire, the great SJ Peake.
Oh, Ben, Poet Laureate Ben from
Is
now.
this your
from
cousin Peaky?
Sanctuary Cove, Queensland. He moves around a bit. Ben is a loyal Collingwood fan, and he's now moved states up to the warmer constituency of Queensland.
It's nice up here, Peaky. There has been a bit of rain over the last few days, but we can't begrudge that. The farmers should like it at some stage.
The farmers should like it. They don't have any farms left.
Sanctuary Cove. Well, everything's been washed away. Fruit and vegetables are going to go up in price next week because they've all been swamped.
If you're in Sanctuary Cove, don't you have to have a $1 million cruiser and a 6-bedroom house?
You don't have to have $1 million cruiser, but you can have a nice house on the water, that's for sure.
Well, you could now, Ben. You're a one-eyed Collingwood man. You've been a big fan for a long time, and you do look at. You're also happy to be a realist, and you like to be critical when you have to be. What do you say about what's happened at Collingwood in the last 5-6 years, and what's going on there right now, and why are they in the predicament they're in?
I think they'll come good on Anzac Day. That's what we're shooting for, Peaky. But yes, certainly. The whole morale of the team was deflated after Mick Malthouse departed. There's been many players that were key members of that team that have been moved on.
Yes.
And these were personalities that steeled the group, Heath Shaw being one of them. Now, when you take out guys like that and you bring in new fellas, Peaky, the club loses something. A bit of the club's soul, a bit of the passion, a bit of the spark score. And Dane Beams isn't there. He was the perfect sidekick to Steele Sidebottom, as Daisy Thomas was the perfect sidekick to Scott Pendlebury.
And you've seen that as a continuing problem. Therefore, he's tried to rebuild the list now. He has had injury troubles this year, not being able to get his full contingent out on the ground, but seems to be bereft of talent up forward to help out young Darcy Moore.
That's certainly true, but we can't expect guys like Jamie Elliott, who isn't 6'4" and isn't 100 kilos, to be dominating the forward line.
Yeah, but that said, Ben, that Ratio Fantasia kicked 5 tonight up at the Gabba, and he's not either of those.
But there was plenty of tall timber up there for the Bombers. You see McDonald carve up the guts for Essendon tonight as well.
Yeah, correct. And Joe Danaher was a focal point up forward for 2.5, 3 quarters.
Certainly. Now, I just wanted to say quickly as well, Peter, we'll move on about Collingwood, mate, because I'll use your word. At the moment, they're a rabble. We hope they can get better in time. Anzac Day, we'll wait till Anzac Day. But I think the Gold Coast have some serious issues, Peaky. They're void of monsters, mate. The team's in desperate need of big-bodied battering rams in a competition that's as tough as nails, mate.
Yep, that's correct, Ben. No doubt about that. They do need to look at their recruiting as well, Benny. We've got to keep moving some, but I do appreciate your input. Tony, you've got something to add just before we go to the news?
Oh, no, just talking about, Ben made mention of Essendon and Tipperary. I mean, that was a fantastic game tonight. I actually thought they were going to be somewhat tired and emotionally bereft, as you like to call it, Peaky, after last week's massive win over the Hawks. Mm-hmm. Obviously with what they'd been through the past 3.5 seasons.
Oh, no doubt. I thought they'd win this game, though, because they're on a roll.
Why?
Because they are.
One game doesn't make a roll.
It's not a roll, but where they're at is they are so... they've got rid of that overhanging black cloud that's been on them for 3 or 4 years now, and they're free. They're mentally freed up completely. If we talk to anyone from Essendon later on in the show, they'll probably tell you that now these boys are completely freed up, and that makes all the difference. All they've got to think about now, football has become a simple game to them now. They don't have to think about, am I going to get rubbed out for 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, and all this sort of business.
And we hope to speak to an Essendon player in the next hour.
We hope to, and that'll be fantastic here on 11:16 SEN. We'll be back after the news. 11:16 in Melbourne's Home of Sport.
On the SEN app, online at sen.com.au, on 11:16am and DAB+. This is SEN, Melbourne's home of footy.
SEN News.
14 degrees in Melbourne, a possible light shower tomorrow, a top of 18. It's 11 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Gary McQuaid. 2 men have been rescued after slipping into the Yarra River at Abbotsford. A passerby in a boat helped emergency crews pluck the pair to safety near the Carlton Brewhouse late this afternoon. James is a friend of the men. He's told Channel 9 they were having a casual day on the banks of the river.
Oh, we were just having a drink and we fell in the water, yeah, because I tried to get him out and I got pulled in by accident. Well, yeah, I tried to pull him out.
Floodwaters in most areas of northern New South Wales are now starting to recede, but it could take at least 2 days before the clean-up can begin. The height of the water has dropped by up to 3 metres in Lismore, where the flood peaked at 11.6 metres yesterday. SES Commissioner Mark Smethurst says people still need to steer clear of flooded areas.
There are carcasses in the water now from livestock. You've got sewage in the water as well. It's not safe to be going in there. And quite frankly, we're better off to allow the levels to drop down to a safe amount before we get the professionals in there to start helping them do it.
The body of a 77-year-old Queensland man has been pulled from floodwaters near Logan, and authorities hold grave fears for 3 others still missing. 2 women died after being caught in floodwaters in New South Wales, and the body of a man has also been found at Murwillumbah. It's unclear, though, if his death is flood-related. A one-time anti-ISIL fighter has faced court in Brisbane charged with murder. Natasha Dean-Jones reports.
Ashley Dybel has faced the Brisbane Magistrates Court charged with the murder of Sam Thompson. The 22-year-old man disappeared last month, last seen leaving his Albion unit on Brisbane's north side. Dybel, who travelled to Syria in 2015 to fight Islamic State forces before returning home to Queensland, has been charged with 1 count of murder and interfering with a corpse. The 25-year-old was remanded in custody a day after his co-accused 23-year-old Roberto Boscano was also remanded on the same charges. In Brisbane, Natasha Dean-Jones, Macquarie National News.
Nick Xenophon has defended his deal with the coalition, which will see some businesses have their tax rate reduced. The government had wanted the rate cut to 25% for all businesses, but a compromise has seen those with a turnover of up to $50 million get some relief. Nick Xenophon says he's done the right thing by Australians.
We actually got a good result for Australians, not only for small and medium businesses, so they'll actually have a fighting chance against the big end of town, but also in terms of power prices.
Michael Kroger will serve another term as Victorian Liberal Party President, re-elected unopposed at the State Council meeting today. Former Howard Government Minister Peter Reith withdrew from the race after suffering a stroke and was publicly backed by Matthew Guy.
SEN Sports Central, on air and online.
Essendon has made it 2 from 2 to start their season with a hard-fought 27-point win over Brisbane at a rain-soaked Gabba. The Bombers kicked the last 5 goals to win 17-9-111 to 12-12-84. Coach John Worsfold told Channel 7 he's really proud of the effort.
They've dominated the game in that third quarter, but at three-quarter time, the boys wanted just the challenge to play, to take it on. Really, I didn't have to give them too much of a message. They were driving it themselves, and they really responded well.
In earlier games, Hawthorn suffered back-to-back losses, going down to the Crows by 24 points at the MCG. St Kilda lost to the West Coast Eagles, 116 points to 97 in Perth. Greater Western Sydney crushed the Gold Coast Suns by 102 points. Melbourne Storm is flying solo at the top of the NRL ladder, maintaining their unbeaten start with a hard-fought 28-6